Justin, and I was finalizing my professional development on advanced Google Forms and came across a question type that I personally really enjoy and feel is really beneficial to teachers and their students, and in allowing for different question types and kind of diversifying the presentation of information for your students. And I have come across this as I've taught this particular question type. I've realized that a lot of teachers tend to stay away from it, and I think that whether it's anxiety of using that question or not knowing how to use it right, well, I want to take that away. So what we'll look at is the multiple choice grid, which if you're looking in Google Forms, it's kind of like playing the match game. So you'd have a rows and columns, and then the students might have to choose the best match or best option for whatever you're presenting to them. And I'll show you what that means in just a second. But before we get there, I want to talk about the inspiration for this. So there's a wonderful lady that was in a PD I did a couple of months ago where I was talking about Google Forms, and I was talking about this question type, and I was social studies. In my head, I was like, okay, well, I would use this to label major battles in the American Revolution, and the years that they took place. But I'm like, that's not that rigorous. That's not really giving much to the students. And so I presented that to the teachers, and immediately this lady was like, she was this elementary science teacher, and immediately she goes, well, I would use this to label the life cycle of a frog. I was like, that's perfect. Yes, let's run with that. Let's go with that. So that's the example that I'll be using for you today. So if we look at Google Forms and you want to add this question type, I've made a separate section here. So again, it's called multiple choice grid. You would generate a new question. It defaults to multiple choice. Click that drop down menu, go down to multiple choice grid, select that, and then you run from there. So the first thing we'll do is I'll go ahead and give the question a name, labeling the life cycle of a frog. There we go. And if we're labeling an image, or we're needing an image as a resource for a question type, we need to put that image in there. And so if you don't already know, this is something that you'll learn from just this quick little PD. Hopefully I can keep it under 5 minutes. Is that Google Forms allows you to embed images into the questions individually. So as I'm typing that question, you might have noticed this little, I'll call it a hologlyph, and if that's not trademarked already, I'm claiming it. But this little hologlyph pops up right here, and that's how we're going to put our image in there. Well, we need the image first. So what I'll do is I'll go to Google, of course, and I'll search for life cycle of a frog. Click on images, and I'll just pick the first one that pops up right here. All right, looks pretty good to me. Now, I want to remember the source that this came from. I want to give the image creator credit when I make this, so 123rf.com, I'll remember that. And I don't need to save this to my computer yet. So all I need to do is I need to generate that image. So I will right click on the image, come down to where it says copy image address, click that. Now I need to go to Google Drawings to generate the image. So drawings.google.com. Okay, untitled drawing. I'm going to label it, or title it, I should say, Life Cycle of a Frog. Okay, 2018. There we go. Okay, and then insert image, and then I want to do this by URL. So when I click insert image by URL, this window pops up. I just paste that URL right there. It gives me a preview, and I click insert. I know this seems like a lot. After you've done it a couple times, or in the case of me trying to make this video 20 times, it's a piece of cake. You'll get it easy, easy. All right, so first thing I'll do is I'll give the image creator credit. Okay, so image credit is to 123rf.com. There we go. And then because I want the students to label the life cycle of a frog, I need to hide the labels that are already there. So again, I'll generate text boxes, and I will make the background white, and then type phase 1 for here. I'll duplicate that 5 times, and then put these over the titles or the labels that are already in place. So I can cover those up and then quiz. That's what the students are being quizzed on. And try to be sure not to cover up any image or any data that the students might need as they're working on this. Okay, cover that, and the last one here. Okay, and so you just go around and change it. Phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and phase 6. Okay, now I want to save it so I can have it on my computer. Download as JPEG, so file, download as JPEG. I go back to my form. Remember that hollow glyph will pop up as soon as I hover my mouse over it. So I click on image. It's going to pull up this menu. We'll be uploading this from the computer. Life cycle of a frog 2018. There we go. Again, it generates a preview right there. You can modify it. You can resize it as you need to. And the next thing I need to do, this is the last step, is I need to give them titles. So for the rows or the columns, it's up to you. I'm going to make the rows the actual life cycles of the frog, and I'm going to rearrange it. So the first one will be tadpole with 4 legs. Next one will be frog. This one will be embryos. This one is tadpole. This one is tadpole with 2 legs. And the last one is eggs. There we go. And then for the columns, I'll make those the labels that are in the image. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and lastly phase 6. And that's all there is. Once you've done that, it's created, it's done. Let's go ahead and look at a preview of it, make sure it looks right, and the video's over. All right, so sample quiz. I click next because it's in a different section. And from there you can see, okay, the students have their options, and then they need to select the phase that best fits that option. So tadpole with 4 legs is going to be phase 4, frog is going to be phase 6, embryos is going to be phase 2, tadpole is going to be phase 3, tadpole with 2 legs is going to be phase 4, and eggs are going to be phase 1. There we go. All right. Hopefully that was under 5 minutes. I don't think it was, but thanks for tuning in. Bye.